So one of those guys that you mixed in a bigger venue that didn't have a sound guy was Corey Feldman and his band of Angels. I was telling the story to somebody else on one of the podcasts, and they were like, "Oh my God, I would have hit myself with a baseball bat."
Yeah, I got a call to mix for Corey Feldman and the Angelic to the Core tour, and it's kind of funny because that was right around the time that Puddle of Mud had come through, and I ended up mixing for them. So everybody was on edge. They didn't know how this was going to go and that kind of thing. But believe it or not, the Puddle of Mud show went great. Um, didn't have any issues, but I heard whatever town they went to the next day that there was a little bit of a meltdown, but they got through it all. But anyway, so Corey comes through. I had all the audio and the lighting up and running like my normal thing. I just make sure that everything's hooked up, everything's working, passing audio, tuned up, rung out. It's about as far as I could take it until I actually have a band there.
Right.
So then, we ended up getting a call that they had some band bus trouble, and they were going to be running behind. So we're like, okay, well, that happens, I guess.
Yeah.
And then another hour goes by. The call was to the promoter was that they don't know when they're going to get there because on their way down from Iowa, he lost his them little scooters that they ride around on.
Oh yeah.
What the heck do they call those things? I forgot. My son had one
Like the
for a while.
razor scooters.
Not a razor scooter, but it's almost like a Segway,
Oh, the little hoverboard things.
a little hoverboard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost it somewhere. Or he forgot it back in the hotel room in Iowa, so they had to turn around and go back after it. So anyway, I'll try to speed this up. So they show up 3 hours later than they said they were going to be there. So at that point, we're getting close to doors, right? So, and then all the opening bands, which I don't know, I think there's 3 other opening bands or something like that, which meant that they weren't going to get the sound check. But what I ended up doing early on is in the event that he was going to show up really late, like he did.
Yeah.
I was able to actually get every band on the stage and run them through their sound checks and make sure that they were happy, save it to the console. And I did that 3 different times. And then then you had to strike the stage before he shows up.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, well, at least these first 3 bands are going to go smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then he shows up 3 hours late. They have video. And that was another thing that when we were going through the rider that I told him that I can handle the audio and the lights, but I'm not a video guy, so I don't want to be responsible for anything video because you know how video is.
Oh yeah.
But I was able to bring some HDMI cables for them because they're like, well, if you could just bring us HDMI cables, then the people that they had with them, they could manage it. So they show up and then they immediately see the size of the stage, which was a low ceiling. So their blow up video screen wasn't going to fit on the stage because it would end up smashing it down and crinkling the screen and all that.
Yeah.
Because the stage was higher than the floor where the people would be at. They decided that it would be best to put it on the floor off to the side and put it at an angle, which meant my whole PA on the left, if you're facing it
Yeah.
from the left or stage right, was going to be completely blocked by this blow up video screen. And I fought really hard for that to not happen, because I'm like, this is just totally gonna not sound good at all. And I remember Corey just telling me to not worry about it. He goes, I'm not too worried about the sound. This is about me showing my videos and the stuff that I've done in my childhood, my movies and everything. So he's like, it's about the show, it'll sound fine.
Wow.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, that's pretty much how that went. I ended up doing the whole show with one side of the PA completely blocked by a blow up video screen.
What was the crowd like? Did they have a good turnout? And what was like the average age of people, would you say?
It was in a pretty good sized building, and it was just absolutely packed in there.
Really?
Yes, and he went on to, not long after that, they ended up having to put him in bigger venues because the people they just wanted to go see him. I don't know why
Yeah, it's not.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's because of the show factor, man. I mean, it was unpredictable. I think
Wow.
people were just drawn to that at that time. Like, I don't know. I mean, I managed the show the best I could. Ran around and jumped up and down like like Michael Jackson and that, and the crowd loved it. So,
Was the band any good, or musically was it challenging to mix?
um, they were they were not very good. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I know a lot of people are going to hear this, but they were not very good.
Sorry to put you on the
And
spot.
so,
I probably should have rethought that question.
yeah, I mean, I thought the drummer was the best one in the band. She was pretty solid. She was on a click, so at least her tempo, her meter was pretty consistent, and that definitely helped. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened, with those guys. But anyway, it was definitely a very interesting show, and I would probably have to rank that one as my most interesting. I don't want to say it's a shit show,
Yeah.
but it was pretty dang close to that.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
it probably was a shit show. Let me take that back.
Okay. Noted. I took it out of. I put it back into the column for shit show, so it's in that proper category.
People were coming out like crazy to see him, and so I don't know.
It's so funny. I bet most of the people didn't realize that there was the challenge with the PA, and they probably all thought it sounded great. It's just funny how that stuff works sometimes.
Well, maybe maybe those on the other side of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could tell, but in a lot of ways, it down that side, it just kind of like made the PA sound like it was drunk or something. But I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. He had like a tour manager guy with them, and that's what they wanted. So
Yeah.
um, despite my best effort to argue with Corey Feldman, um, that's what he wanted. So that's what he got.
So when you're trying to set up for a show like that and you're mixing the three bands ahead of time, do you have a like a console layout that you like to follow, or how do you set up your console for something like that?
Basically, my console today, for the most part, is just set up like a festival patch. So I don't have anything special going on with it, like parallel compression and things like that, because I mix so many different kinds of bands, even acoustic acts, or even bands that where they, some of these bands where some of the guys make their own instruments,
I've
you
been
know,
there. I've been there.
like I'll give you an example of like Ben Miller Band or Reverend Peyton or something like that. These guys show up and they've got this old how do I even want to call it, like this Louisiana swamp style music going on, so they'll bring in an old army trunk that's got like a kick drum beater hitting the side of it, but that's got a microphone inside of it. My console layout is just simple because I don't know what I'm ever dealing with most of the time. But for some of the bands that I do run for on a regular basis or more often, I will go into doing some things that I wouldn't normally do with the other band, where they've either got a half hour or 45 minutes on the stage and then they're off. It's hard to focus on a lot of these different tips and tricks, parallel compression, doing
Yeah.
side chain stuff, and that kind of thing, when you're going to have to get that band off, and then you're going to throw another band up there that where this thing could actually, everything that you did it's most likely going to have to be undone. So it's just channel strip, channel strip EQ, compression, or gates. Nothing routed to subgroups at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Input channels routed to left, right. Like a standard, real straightforward. But doing the subgroup thing, which I've experimented with it with the Midas console. On some of my other consoles, I would run subgroups, and I did different things with that, which I liked. But on the Pro One, there's a lot more work involved in telling certain outputs that you want them to be in group mode rather than mix mode. You can only do it on certain outputs. It's kind of tricky there, but everything that you would have output wise for monitor wedges or effects, because effects get routed to these outputs, like an old analog console, these all got to be moved to different places. That way, certain outputs on the Midas console can be converted to mix groups. So that usually means like your effects will get shoved downstream to, outputs, I don't know, 17 through 24 or something like that. So they just get routed to a different area, which is where the matrices are.
Yeah.
So that would be all fine and everything if I was with the band set for it, like an actual tour where I'm always with this band. But for me, new band almost every night, or every weekend. So I just go straight forward with it, man.
Yeah.
And the Midas console, in my opinion, that thing, it just sounds so good. I mean, I don't think I've ever not been able to, like, at some point during the show say, wow, I feel pretty good about this now,
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yeah, there's that magic to the Midas Pro series. I can't explain it either, but it always does. It sounds good no matter what you're doing with it. So it's pretty hard to screw it up. I'll do a quick diversion and then we're almost out of time here.
okay.
Yeah. Shure Microphones asked me to do a little promo for them, talking about the 58 for May 8th, 5/8 day. Do you have a preferred vocal microphone that you go to for like a festival patch or for a if you're run and gun type of thing?
If I'm going to do a run and gun thing, which is pretty much what I do, I have a bunch of 58s that I go with. And and I have some betas. I even have some Audix,
Oh yeah.
OM5s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like those mics on different people, if I have the opportunity to do that. But for the most part, if I know that my job is to get these bands on the stage, get them off, then I almost always have 58s across the whole entire thing, unless they bring something in and say, hey, I got my own mic. I would rather use it. And then we'll just swap it out and then I'll work with it.
Do you
So I may have to get up there, and if I'm running, monitors from front of house, I may have to jump on the stage and go through it a little bit just to make sure that, it's where it needs to be and that kind of thing. But other than that, I just go with the 58s.
Yeah, you answered the question I was going to ask, which was my hair bristles just a little bit when somebody comes with their own mic. I understand why they want to do it. It's cleaner. They know that it works well for their voice, but then I always get a little nervous with, feedback and placement and making sure, that we don't get surprised by anything. But yeah, you do what I do, hop up on stage and make sure everything's good.
A lot of the stages that I'm on, I don't get the opportunity to get away from the stage volume much.
Right.
So you don't want some kind of a microphone up there that, even if they come in, they've got like a cheap microphone. And believe it or not, I've had somebody carry in a Radio Shack microphone with the on off switch on it and just say, let's just go with this mic, but so, I have a rough enough time trying to get away from the stage volume to the point where some instruments, for like a snare or something like that, doesn't even make it in the PA. But I mean, for the most part, I think I have a decent mic collection. I certainly have a great mic collection at work. Our microphone inventory at the shop is pretty nice. It's a lot of high end Shure stuff and Sennheiser, and we have some Audix stuff. We've got DPAs, and so I mean, if I need something, I can always get it from there. But
I'm excited. I bought the DPA 2088 capsule for our Axient stuff that we tour with. I'm excited to try it out because I've heard it does a really good job of rejecting unwanted noise from the microphone and just really concentrates on the vocal. So I'm excited to try that out because, believe it or not, we play a lot of smaller stages. I think when we were at your venue in Peoria, it was a pretty small little club, maybe 150 cap or whatever. So stage volume is always an issue in scenarios like that. So
Yeah, for that particular venue there, yeah, you're not going to get away from the drum kit
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
Good luck with that.
yeah.
Um,
I cringe whenever somebody comes on stage with like a Beta 87, and that's their vocal mic, because I'm like, well, fantastic. We're gonna get everything except for vocals into the mix
right.
tonight.
Yeah, let me know how that microphone does. That'll be very interesting.
Yeah,
I know the 58s aren't the best at that either, but at rejection. So
I've been playing around with it here at the house. Trying proximity and cupping it and putting a loud source, behind it or in front of it, and it seems to do what they claim it does. So it'll be interesting once I get on a stage and start working on it with Mixie, and we'll see if she likes it.
oh, I bet she will. She'll love it.
Let's hope. They're pricey.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why I don't have any for the run and gun shows, because that's just wouldn't be good.
Yeah, somebody would, drop a beer on it or drop it into a beer or who knows, and yeah, that would not be fun.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, Jerry, the time flew by. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you could be basking in the sun and relaxing on the beach with drinks and whatnot, but instead you're talking to me, so that I really appreciate that. It means a lot.
Well, cool.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
I will put up links for your book. I'll put up links for your website and also a Facebook page. So is there anything else that you'd like to touch base on real quick before we take off here?
Not anything that I can really think of at the moment.
All right. I put you on the spot, and it's no fun when we've got a bad internet connection too. So
I would just say, for the guys that are getting into the sound thing and trying to get going, that listen to as much like these podcasts and listen to what other people are doing, and just keep going. I think one of the things that it probably helped me out more than anything was very early on, when I got my first digital board, I was able to record bands. So if I had an issue and I make a note of it, I could go home, and then through the days afterwards, I could play that back through the desk, even through the PA that I mixed on at the time, or even through headphones or whatever, and just really start critically listening to what's going on. Like,
oh yeah,
how much high pass filter, does it sound right to me here that you couldn't hear when you're in the venue?
yeah,
That kind of thing, and just start working with it, and especially like working with different effects, the tonality and the sounds of the tails of it all,
yeah.
so it sounds right for the space that you're in instead of in a cave.
No, that is really sound sage advice. The multi-track, the advent of multi-track, and you can do it for almost free these days. So people that are not doing that, that's one of the best tricks or tips I've ever heard. So thanks for sharing that, Jerry.
No problem.
All right, well, we'll call this a podcast for the day. I will definitely have you back on to talk about other fun stories and experiences. But for now, we'll wish everybody well. And Jerry, thanks again for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
You got it. And that's a wrap on today's show. I hope that you found it equal parts entertaining and informative. This show is recorded on an Allen & Heath D-Live system with Shure microphones and Waves tracks live. I use Skype, FaceTime, and Facebook Messenger to meet with my guests, so the occasional robot voice is to be expected. Thanks again to Merrick Goodwin for the awesome show music, and to you for listening. Be sure to visit the MixMasters website at www.mixmasterspodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast and tell a friend. MixMasters can also be found on Facebook and Instagram at MixMasters Podcast. That's all one word. Give a like, follow us, and never miss out on new episodes.